hard, but brave and sacred. I am the first in my family to rise this high, not by inheritance, but by intention. I had no bursary, no safety net, only a dream stitched into the soles of my shoes. I went door to door with a CV in hand, waitressing by day and studying by night, selling sweets on campus, not for profit, but to keep my future alive. I am a student of life, wearing failure like a lesson and pain like armor. Each hardship, a chapter. Each challenge, a teacher. I am built from sacrifice held together by resilience. I have crossed the graduation stage not once but twice, each walk a victory for every no I turned into a yes. And now, I walk into lecture halls once more, pursuing my master's degree, not as a requirement, but as a continuation of a calling, proof that my journey is not finished, only unfolding. I am a daughter of destiny, the echo of ancestors who prayed me into existence. When the world looked down on me, I looked up to God and He whispered, "Go further, go deeper, go anyway." I am not the loudest voice in the room, but I carry the weight of stories untold. I lead not for applause, but for the ones who still feel invisible. I am leadership, born in struggle, chairperson, champion, change maker, but named exceptional student leader by the Vice Chancellor himself, not for being flawless, but for rising again and again. I am not just a student. I am a sister to the unseen, a voice for the unheard, a light in dark spaces. I am the girl who once felt small, now standing tall, not in pride, but in purpose, because I know what it means to be overlooked and what it feels like to become someone else's hope. I wear my story like a crown, not golden, but glorious, crafted from hardship and polished by grace. I am Bulela, not just a name, but a revolution in motion. I don't just survive, I rise. I don't just lead, I become.
Excellent, excellent, very well done. I always feel very intimidated following a scholar. We have our last scholar for the conference, Mbali Zondo. Mbali is an honors student in health system sciences at the University of the Witwatersrand, originally from Johannesburg South. She holds a Bachelor of Health Science degree and is passionate about health equity and student advocacy. In 2023, she served as the founder and chair of Utingalwazi Wits, an all-female student society. Mbali has also served on the SRC Policy and Transformation Subcommittee and volunteered for 2 years with Friends of Doctors Without Borders. She trained as a gender equity officer advocate and supported students through the Office of Student Success. In 2022, she was named WIT's Most Outstanding Club and Society Leader. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? A question as old as time, allow me to tell you in rhyme. I am Mbali, a flower deeply rooted in struggle that cannot be disputed. A flower is supposed to be delicate. However, I was rooted in strife that you cannot invalidate. Planted in the hands of a disabled man, it was just me, him, a disability grant, and God's plan. Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? I am the child of a storyteller. My father spoke of walking for hours just to learn, of moving to Soweto so his future could turn. He told of Bantu schools with broken chairs and policemen who dragged him out mid-lesson unprepared. At night he hid as gunshots lit the air. Bang, bang, bang! 3 bullets found his spine, and with them, the dream of a first-generation graduate died. Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? I grew up in Johannesburg, eGawie, Gauteng Maboneng, kwandonga ziyaduma. Kwanyama ipheli kuphela amazinyo endoda, the meat never runs out. However, I quickly realized that there are no riches. Inyama iyaphela. I was brought into a house where people came to look for a better life. Every year, someone new came. My home was their transit frame. Shared walls were the story of my life. Sacrificing for others was all that I knew. Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? I was told that I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm just not enough, and I will not make it. Just like my parents who moved to Joburg and never did, I carried those people's hate in ways that they never thought I did, and that made me want to find myself. So, who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? Without any riches, silver or gold, I made it into varsity, defying what I was told. I struggled through lectures, intimidated by Witz's cold and gray structures. I changed courses in pursuit of happiness and thought that it would take away my sense of emptiness. With no foods, no fans, just a dream. All I wanted was to see my dad beam. Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? Facing failure, the death of loved ones, and poverty, I thought that I would never reach my destiny. Maybe those people were right. Maybe I should stop the fight. Going through therapy began my journey to recovery. Sitting in front of the Wits readmission committee, I had to retell the story of my misery. Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? I was given a second chance to rewrite my future and advance. With the life I grew up witnessing, always giving, never receiving, but helping, I realized is a fact of life. I decided to assist those who were like me, those who were silenced, those who needed me. Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? Through the trials and dreams not recognized, but then dreams realized, I built a space for women to be seen, not for their failures, but for their strength, a place to explore their depth, even in the faces of storms and winds. I found my strength deep inside my limbs. My strength was recognized. Through a leadership award, I was honored and prized. Thank you to the social worker who said, Mbali, if you're hungry, come by. To the VIT citizen and community outreach for the meals and a safe bed at night. To the discretionary fund that cleared my debt so that I could graduate. To the academic advisor who saw me and not just my marks. To the therapist who listened without rushing to fix me. To everyone involved in building the systems that held me up, I hope they keep growing, helping others like me. Thank you to those who treat students like myself as people first. I stand before you today because I am a flower, once delicate, but today, of its graduates. I am a girl who came through struggles, and today, resilient. I am beautiful enough, I'm strong enough, I'm smart enough, I'm not just enough, I'm more than enough. Ngiyimbali eqhakaza ubuhlobo nasebusika, ngizophumelela, sizophumelela, siyaphumelela. I will succeed, we will succeed, we are succeeding. Who am I? What am I? And why am I as I am? I am success. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be transitioning now to our Best Paper Award, and I'd like to invite Innocent to introduce the session.
Thanks, Ashton. Good morning, everyone. All right, yeah, so once again, Ashton, you set us up for a difficult task to follow such impassioned recitals. But anyway, so this is a shift from telling the story of student success from the heart, from passion, but it's shifting to showcasing how we're also telling the story from data and evidence. So the best paper presentation, it wasn't such an easy task for us to decide. Because we received upwards of 123 papers, poster submissions, presentations, all really of exceptional quality and well thought out. So that's the reason why they were selected to be present at this conference. So it wasn't a very easy task, but we had to, at some point, identify one paper that we thought was the best of all. So in order to qualify for the best paper recognition, so the proposal said to include the use of data to demonstrate successful strategy execution in one of the session themes and provide strong evidence of success with substantial improvement in student and institutional outcomes. The evaluation criteria focused on evidence of success, inclusion of students, taking it to scale, eliminating equity gaps, evaluation and key insights. And the process was conducted as a blind review. It was done by our Siyaphumelela coaches, SAIDI staff, and our advising consultants. So each paper was reviewed by at least, so we're talking about the 123 papers. So each paper was reviewed by at least two reviewers. So it was quite a rigorous and thorough process leading to the selection. So thank you to our coaches and to the SAIDI staff who help us get to this decision. And so without much ado, so the paper that we decided deserved that recognition is a paper entitled The First Year Experience at University of KwaZulu-Natal, Scaling Equity-Centered High-Impact Practices. And the paper was authored by, sorry if I pronounce the first name incorrectly, Arabax, so I don't know if it's Arabax or Arabox. PP Ngubane, Hoskins, and S. Rama at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. So the authors, not all of them could be present today, but I'm informed that two of the authors are present to share with us their paper. May I please invite the two authors to the stage. Please, if you can start by introducing yourself so that the audience knows which ones are you.
Okay, so my name is Ngubane. I am presenting with my colleague, Ms. Rakiba Bax. We are FYE coordinators at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and our job is basically to oversee the peer mentorship program. Okay, so this is basically the structure of our presentation. I will start by presenting the introduction and background, then proceed to the theoretical concept and conceptual foundations, then scaling in practice, Then my colleague will present on the UKZN FYEP model, the enablers and barriers to scaling, then future directions of the FYEP. Then we will conclude the presentation, then later show the list of references. So the first week and the first semester of university are crucial for first-year students. Though transition is a sustained process throughout the entire first year, high dropouts during first year of study remain a global and a persistent challenge. In a South African context, the highly diverse first-year student cohorts often confronts overlapping challenges such as underpreparedness, undecidedness, socio-economic inequality, and the first-generation status. Access alone is insufficient. Without systematic and intentional support structures, students have to navigate unfamiliar institutional and academic environments. Timely and contextualized academic and social supports during student admission, transition, and acclimation is critical. So this is the aim of our presentation. The aim of the presentation is to share an evidence-based and scalable intervention. So this will be done in three folds. The first one, the illustration of the UKZN institutional-wide first-year experience program. Then we will demonstrate the successes and challenges in scaling the practice. Then we will lastly focus on future directions that deepen impacts to sustain and support student success. The vision of UKZN is to be a premier university of African scholarship. The mission is also to be a truly South African university of choice that is academically excellent, innovative in research, entrepreneurial, and critically engaged with society. The UKZN strategic goals align with the National Development Plan of 2030, highlighting the commitments to embracing diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice, and transformation. The presentation will just focus on the two goals from the UKZN 2023 to 2032 strategic plan. So the strategic plan has numerous goals, but for the sake of the presentation, we will focus on goal 1, which is excellent teaching and learning, and goal 2, which is excellent student experience. So the first year experience program is also drawing from the academic monitoring and support policy of 2023, which focuses on tracking, monitoring, and supporting students who are underperforming. So this is the outline of the UKZN student profile. There are more females registered than males. UKZN has a diverse student population that has students from quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools. Majority of the students are funded by the National Student Financial Scheme. So when the first year experience program was designed, it had to draw from certain theoretical and conceptual foundation. So the first one is Social Justice by Nancy Fraser. It is aligned to Ubuntu principle of philosophy. It focuses on redistribution, recognition, and representation. So the UKZN FYEP has used Fraser's writing to transforming and humanizing the institutional scaling and practice. The FYEP at UKZN also drew from Nancy's writings to focus on designing a program that is equity-centered, high-impact practices to support first-year students. We also drew from Transitional Pedagogy by Sally Kift, which speaks to 6 principles of the first-year curriculum. The first one is a transition, which is a principle on the first year curriculum to assist in academic transition into university. The second one being a diversity, which is a principle on first year curriculum embracing diversity and preparedness for university life. The following being design, which is a principle on first year curriculum being designed based on practice. The following principle being engagement, that focuses on incorporating pedagogies, engaging students in their learnings. And then assessment, which is another principle on the first year curriculum that aids assessment and provides prompt feedback to first year students. And then lastly, monitoring and evaluation focuses on monitoring student engagement. So when designing the UKZN FYEP, the principals assisted us in facilitating an institutional-wide FYE program, and these principals assisted in informing us in terms of institutional scaling and curricular alignment. And then we also drew from the 5 senses of student success by Lesio. The first one being a sense of capability, which depends on how well the first year understands what is expected of them in university. The following one being a sense of connectedness, which focuses on the quality of relationships with peers and university staff. A sense of purpose is basically engagement with the discipline of study and the capacity for them to set goals. A sense of resourcefulness is the ability to navigate university systems. And then lastly, a sense of culture is the appreciation of university principles by first years. So the UKZN FYE used these senses to inform the FYEP unit design. It also assisted us in informing the mentoring practice and support mechanisms. So this is basically a timeline in the implementation of the FYE program in UKZN. As you can see that prior to 2022, there was no common FYEP throughout colleges. And then in 2022, there was a peer review of the curriculum content, and the FYEP was also piloted throughout the university colleges. In 2023, the university-wide FYEP with a high flex model was implemented. Then last year in 2024, there was an implementation of the BR10 rule, which stipulates that it is compulsory for all first-year students to complete the first-year experience program. And then also in 2024, there is ongoing curriculum and design review. I will now hand over the presentation to my colleague. Thanks.
Thank you, colleague. So I will be talking about the UKZN First Year Experience model. So the First Year Experience program consists of 4 units, and in each of these units, there are assessments that are embedded in this First Year Experience program. It's a year-long, non-credit bearing program. At the end of each unit, students are provided with a completion certificate. Mentors as well as coordinators can go onto the FYE website and monitor students' progress in real time. So the first year experience program model also has the first year experience mentorship. So students are assigned to a first year experience mentor that provides a space where students feel like they belong, right? Because we all know being a first year student can be a really isolating experience. Then we have the high-flex pedagogic model, and this links to the social justice, as the redistribution of support, the representation and recognition of the underpreparedness of students, as well as the inequality of students. And the high-flex model is technology integrated. So students can choose according to their preference whether they would like to attend a session that's face-to-face or an online session. And our online sessions are held on Zoom. Our face-to-face sessions, support sessions, are held at the lands at the different campuses. And in those sessions, there is a mentor that's physically present to provide support. So, for example, if we look at the lands, a mentor is present so we can provide support to students if they're finding it challenging to navigate the FYE site or just using a computer in the space. So like I've mentioned, the FYE program has 4 units. In semester 1, we roll out unit 1 and unit 2 to our students. In semester 2, we roll out unit 3 and unit 4. So the first year experience program and the content aligns with Sally Kift and colleagues' first year curriculum design. So that's for the intentional curriculum design. So if we look at Unit 1, it takes students through basic information that they would need, and then we move on to more critical. So Unit 1 looks at the transition to university life, and there's various topics that that students can access under this unit. In Unit 2, it focuses on the academic skills and development. Unit 3 focuses on student wellness. And Unit 4 focuses on financial literacy. So, like we've mentioned earlier, that at UKZN, the FYE program is compulsory for all first-year students as of 2024. And according to the BR10 rule, it states that in order for a student to qualify for or be awarded their degree, they need to complete all 4 components of the compulsory first year experience program. So peer mentorship is important because it's not just about scaling up, it's about humanizing and scaling support. And this links to the social justice and Ubuntu philosophy, the redistribution, recognition, and representation. It also links to Prof. Gardner's work in terms of the integration of support, that first-year students should have different types of support in their first week and first semester. And some of the things that we have also at UKZN that speaks to Prof. Gardner's work is the orientation program, academic advising, the first year experience program, as well as peer mentoring. So if we look at year 1 of the student's journey, upon accepting an offer, a first year student is reached out by the college admissions team via SMS, welcoming them to the university. Then a mentor reaches out to the student. An FYE mentor will reach out via WhatsApp. They would introduce themselves and share the links to our orientation program. We also provide students with resources that would help them to actually download Zoom so that they can attend the online orientation program. When students join these sessions at orientation, we take them through the curriculum advising as well as the various support that we have in the institution, and students are made aware of the first year experience program as well as the BR10 rule. So student feedback and student voice and feedback loops. This speaks to the social justice, representation, and recognition. So student evaluations are embedded after each unit of the FYE program. And this links to the work of Dr. Timothy Rennick and the importance of actually considering student voice as the driving force behind embedding content, ensuring that content is relevant, and designing of programs according to students' needs. So apart from having these evaluations embedded in the program, we also evaluate the sessions that we provide support in, the online and contact sessions. And this helps us to actually evaluate and understand and look at data based on the student feedback. What can we do differently in the spaces in terms of delivery of the content, how we deliver, and the content itself? Not only do we look at student evaluations, we also look at coordinator as well as the mentors evaluations, because we're working on the ground with students. So all of this feedback informs the annual curriculum reviews as well as the improvement of the peer mentorship program. So if we look at the data that's displayed on the screen, this was extracted from our Unit 1 evaluation for 2025. And we looked at the category of students that chose between very relevant and somewhat relevant in terms of the content. And most of the students indicated that the following topics fell in that category of very relevant and relevant, which is the policies, procedures, and rules, being a UKZN student, library information, as well as the introduction to UKZN. The enablers to scaling, there has to be a cross-institutional collaboration between the teaching and learning, ICT, student affairs, all working together towards a shared vision. Strategic executive leadership and policy support. So this is the BR10 rule as well as designated funding, which gave the program sustainability as well as credibility. Structured curriculum, such as the way that the First Experience program is designed, as well as the central coordination and the digital delivery, providing consistency across all colleges. The peer mentorship program provided a sense of belonging and humanizing experience, as well as the annual curriculum reviews, which helped us maintain quality and adapt to evolving needs of our students. So some of the barriers to scaling is the limited access to Wi-Fi for students that live off-campus residence, digital literacy gaps, the delayed device delivery for students that are funded by NSFAS, as well as, so these are things that compromise learning and links to social injustice, maldistribution, as well as misrecognition. So the data that's displayed on the screen was extracted from Unit 1, digital literacy, under the topic digital literacy. It was a survey, and students indicated that out of the 8,635 students, 8,100 students indicated that they own a smartphone, right? And in terms of access to internet, 3,866 students live on campus, and the other students live either off campus, at private accommodation, and at home, and we don't know how much of access they have in the spaces. So our future directions are to embed AI content into Unit 1 and Unit 2 of the First Experience program, to build AI awareness and help students build that confidence as well as the important skills that they need to use AI responsible and that aligns with UKZN's AI principles. To monitor and evaluate, to enhance the data analytics so that we can enable tracking and prediction of student performance and the early detection of underperformance. as well as the translation of the first year experience program into isiZulu at first to address language barriers of students, and enhancing the FYE program and the learner management system to promote online access for students living with disability. So our conclusions and lessons to share: UKZN's experience offers a roadmap for institutions seeking scalable, equitable first-year initiatives, from initiative to institutional norm and culture, but in order to do so, you need to build staff and student partnerships across the institution. Scaling requires adaptability and reflections through regular feedback and evaluation, not replication. The importance of having theory-informed practice that links access, success, and social justice with the student design center. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for sharing that very insightful presentation. So I think because of time, maybe we can have time for 1 or 2 questions. I think 2 at the most. So any immediate questions? So we see one right at the edge. Do we have the microphones? So yeah. So one there, Elias. So maybe we can start there where you are closest. And then we'll move to the gentleman on the far end. Yeah, please go ahead, sir. Is it not, is yours active? Can we?
It's not active. Oh, there it is, actually.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead if yours is active.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you for an amazing presentation. We really appreciate what you've shared with us this morning. 2 questions on my side. One, have you tracked the performance of your first-year students since the implementation of this program? And if it is, I can't remember if you mentioned if it's optional or compulsory, but if it is optional, have you compared the performance of the students that have taken up the program versus those that haven't? And have you seen if there is a distinct difference in how they're performing? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so we'll take the second question so that you can respond to both of them in one go. Please go.
Thank you, Jay. So my question is kind of a little bit technical, but you referenced the hybrid mode of offering as a social justice issue, which is really close to my heart, and I'm really interested in hearing from you about what kind of data you collected from students in terms of the level of participation in your program, and you know how hybrid enabled that, and just briefly what their experiences were of having the ability to choose their mode of participation rather than having to kind of mold their choices to whatever you had on offer. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, so quickly in 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't get the second question really clearly on my end. So I'll just ask for it to be repeated. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Jay. So the question is really about, so we offer high flex as almost as a social justice issue, which I really agree with. But I was wondering whether you track some data in terms of how effective it actually is to address the issues that you reference as a social justice issue. How does a high flex mode of offering enable students to increase their levels of participation, and what is their experience of having the choice to participate in a way that suits their lived experience? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much for that. So I will start with the question that we had on this side. The first year experience program is compulsory as of 2024. So in terms of how students attend the support session, that's optional. That's where they get to choose if they want to attend a face-to-face or a contact. So in that sense, we're leaving it to the student to decide what works for them. And we use a student-centered approach in terms of how do we then structure these support sessions. We send out a link to students and they choose what they would like. So student voice is really important in terms of that. The second question, have we looked at the previous students and looked at how far they've gone? Well, we've only made this first year experience program compulsory as of 2024, so it's really early for us to actually go back or to look at that data. We do have access to student progress. However, I think in that case it would require a cohort analysis. Okay, thank you. Our second question, in terms of the social justice and the support that we offer to students, like I've also mentioned, that we look at what works according to the students' needs. We understand that the students that come into our institution are students that are mostly from quintile 1 to 3 schools. So that's why we have the option for them to choose if they would like to attend an online session, what makes them feel comfortable, and if they choose a face-to-face session, for example, if they don't have access or they don't know how to navigate using maybe a desktop, the mentor is present in that session to help the students. Thank you. My colleague will also add.
Okay, so the second gentleman also alluded, asking us about access to data and information. So for every unit that the student completes, there is an evaluation. So that's how we actually get their voice as students. And then within sessions, mentors do interact with them. And then within the semester, we also have other evaluations to just see if they perceive the content to be helpful for them or not, and their perception of the assistance from the mentor.
All right, thank you so much. Unfortunately, due to time, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much, Rakiba and Pindile. So, of course, please, you are welcome. They are available to get in touch directly with them to learn more about their outstanding work. This is the certificate of recognition from, yeah. Thank you so much. We will now transition into our next session with the erstwhile scholars again. We can't seem to get rid of our scholars.
Okay, I'd like to invite our scholars to the stage, please. This is our 2024 and 2025 Siyaphumelela Scholars. Blessing Gumbu from the University of Cape Town. Bradley Gawie from the Central University of Technology Free State. Bulela Limba from the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. Mbali Zondo from the University of the Witwatersrand.
And Musa Bizani from Northwest University. Sibahle Mabaso from University of the Free State. And lastly, Zoe Bok from University of the Western Cape.
Okay, so we asked the scholars to prepare their own questions. So these questions are coming from the scholars themselves and the answers. And they've already practiced their time, and we've got a timekeeper for them, so we're going to be on track. So Blessing, why is it important to amplify student voices in order to achieve success? In answering this question, could you share a specific student success intervention that has been implemented at your institution? Additionally, how can institutions better support students pursuing STEM degrees and ensure their success?
Thank you for that question. I'd like to begin by quoting a principle from design thinking, which says, always remember the end user. In the context of university, the end user is us, students. If we are not part of the discussions, then how can any intervention truly serve us? So amplifying student voice is critical for student success because only we can truly express the challenges that we face and also the support that we need. So at UCT, one specific student intervention that embodies this beautifully is a project called Science is Tough, But So Are You, the SIT, which I've proudly been a part of since 2023. So this initiative invited academics and students to contribute real experiences about adjusting to university life. So these stories were not written about students. They were written by students and for students. And I think this is important to remind us that no one understands students' journey more than the students themselves. I've contributed to several chapters of the book, and this year I was approached to turn it into a podcast or vodcast to reach more students through storytelling because we know today's generation, they connect more with visuals and audio. Now I lead the podcast as part of the Siyaphumelela program at UCT, where I engage with students about adjusting into varsity life, make them feel heard and seen, and also less lonely in their STEM majors. Now, science is challenging, but institutions need to emphasize empowering students over pressure. So they need to actively seek student feedback and not make assumptions about what they think we need. Also, struggling in STEM majors shouldn't be viewed as a weakness. It's a growth process. Also, institutions, they need to do better in disseminating information in a simple, clear, and relatable manner to students. There's no need for ambiguity, guys. And also, in closing, I would like to say, some people have said to me, why are you involved in student development programs? Scientists do not do that. And well, I'm still 1,000% passionate about neuroscience. And I think this narrow-mindedness that exists in academia is exactly what we need to change. I'm committed to paving a pathway for Black students in science, students that aspire to be scientists to never give up on their dreams. My motto is to serve and inspire others. And I think that we need to build compassionate and also confident leaders that will make an impact. Because when we amplify student voices, we do not only design interventions, we create future leaders that will make a change in the world. Thank you.
Bradley, how has being a dream scholar shaped your perspective on student success and equity in higher education?
Thank you very much for that very profound question. I think it was beautifully orchestrated and written, if I have to say so myself. Good morning, everybody. I think this is a very important conversation. Let's actually start there. And I'm actually quite inspired to be a part of this panel and this conference as well. And it also actually shows that the student voice truly matters, right? And that inclusion is not just something that we loosely throw around, but it's something that we actually do practice. So I do commend all the stakeholders, and I implore you to actually continue doing the good work. Being a dream scholar has fundamentally actually shifted my professional outlook as well as my personal understanding of what student success is, especially the equity part thereof. And this is particularly relevant within the South African context because we all know that higher education is still very much unequal. In my capacity as a peer mentor, as an SI lead, as a writing advisor, and academic advisor, I saw that it was easy to actually focus on the themes of passing modules, of improving academic performance, and then getting lost in the administration of it all. However, student success is not only primarily embedded in academic terms, completion rates, exam results, or progressing to the next year. This approach only addresses one layer of a multifaceted problem that we face. For example, where I come from, many first-year students are first-generation students. Some live in rural areas with limited access to Wi-Fi, others from townships where study areas are not guaranteed. Financial pressures are constant, many rely on NSFAS funding, and many even support their families while studying with their NSFAS funding. These realities don't always show up in data, but they directly affect whether a student graduates or drops out. What stood out most for me through the DREAM experience is how many emphasis was placed on building intentional ecosystems for support. Many institutions that partner with Achieving the Dream are making a deliberate effort to align academic advising, financial aid, mental health services, and food security programs under a unified student success strategy. And these are evident in all of the presentations that have been done so far. In short, being a Dream Scholar has taught me that student success and equity are not side projects. They are core institutional responsibilities, and realizing them requires commitment, intentionality, and constant engagement with the student voice as a guiding force. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Bulela, how can student leaders turn challenges they faced into tools for inspiring and empowering others?
Thank you so much, Ashton, for this wonderful question. I believe that every challenge we face carries a lesson. As student leaders, it is our responsibility to turn those lessons into light for others. Coming from a disadvantaged background myself, I had to fight for opportunities, but I didn't allow that to break me. Instead, I allowed it to build something deeper. Resilience, purpose, and courage. So when you open about your journey, the failures, the fears, the growth, you give others permission to believe in themselves, even when their circumstances are hard. It's no longer just about leading from the front, but it's about walking along them, saying that I have been there, you too can rise. Student leadership is most powerful when it moves beyond the podium and becomes personal. Our stories, when shared with courage, they become tools of transformation, not just for ourselves, but for the community as a whole.
Now it's you, Mbali. What do you consider to be the key barriers to student success?
Thank you. What a beautiful and simple question. Coming from one of the best institutions in the country, WITS, I'd be doing my institution a disservice by not firstly acknowledging the beautiful initiatives that they have in place to ensure that these barriers aren't there. Firstly, WITS offers thousands of students free residence rooms and beds if they come from more than 40 kilometers away from the institution. WITS has daily hot lunches for students so that we don't learn on empty stomachs. WITS has food parcels, toiletries, sanitary towels, academic advising, free therapy, the writing center to ensure that we know how to write academically. So I'm super proud to be part of such an institution that looks at us students holistically and not just as somebody who must get in, produce a degree, and get out. So the key barriers for me are exclusion, right? By exclusion, I mean academic and financial exclusion. Starting with academic exclusion, if a student meets the minimum requirements to study a course, it means that they are good enough and they are capable of finishing the degree. The institution usually forces the academic advising, forces the tutorials, forces you to attend things after you've been academically excluded or after you've failed. I think that instead of focusing on correction or punishment rather after the fact, they should focus more on the first day. The presenter mentioned that there are warning signs, there are red flags before a student fails or becomes excluded. So I think that they should focus more on ensuring that those students who are at risk of failing or of being academically excluded have the necessary skills and are mandated to attend study groups, are mandated to attend class, and are mandated to perform. And then financial exclusion, a resident room at Wits, one of the cheapest is 67,000 Rand. NSFAS only covers 50,000 Rand of that course. So you either go to substandard external residences or you owe the institution and then you're unable to graduate or register the following year. So I think that the institution should try to close that gap, that affordability gap, and ensure that students who are academically deserving aren't left out of the institution due to unaffordability. They should try to limit the amount of thousands of students excluded every year from the institution. And I feel that as much as VIT has all these wonderful initiatives denying students the basic rights of education, we do know that the minimum requirement for a job in South Africa is a bachelor's degree, and once you've denied the student the chance to achieve that, then you've killed their future. Thank you.
Thank you. So Musa, you're from the Northwest University. Tell us about your experience and philosophy of student success.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to answer my questions this way. So if you look at, I'm going to start with the experience first. I think I've served my peers in the institution on various capacities, and I think I've seen the intellect of how the lack of these capacities working together has an impact on the greater good of the students themselves. But perhaps for the second question, I'll start with the following premise, that all institutions have the data of what quantiles their students come from. And I think from that, we're supposed to make detailed research as to how can we then learn to accommodate these students when they get here. Because if there's one thing I can say for certain is that these students might not have access, especially those that come from the vulnerable backgrounds, is that they do not have access to the technological computers or whatsoever. But what I can say is that they're very much gifted with what is called resilience. They're quite resilient. And my philosophy of student success is more one of empowering and co-creation. What can we do? I think we've heard the DVC speak the other day of what the university is giving the students. Perhaps we don't need handouts. We're tired of that now. What can be done to empower us to do it ourselves? So instead of giving us and always thinking about what more money can we give, what more this can we do, what about thinking of what can we perhaps give, but for them to be able to also give back? So not about literal handouts, but what can we invest in this student for them to be able to produce that which they want? So with that being said, then I will go to the second part, the co-creation part. I think when it comes to co-creation, I'm very big on saying, do not engage me. So I believe in co-creation as opposed to contribution. I think we spoke about that the other day. So don't speak to me before you come to the conference and then come and share your thoughts here. Invite me to the conference. Let me come and say what I think and share it with the others. So that's, I think, very important. And then just a last note, I just wanted to say, perhaps it's very important for us to realize and appreciate the fact that teaching and learning is not just standing in front of students. And I think it's time for us to realize and appreciate and live that. Thank you very much.
Sibahle, yes. How can storytelling and performance be used to center student voices and spark institutional change?
Thank you, Dr. Ephraim. I want to start by saying that storytelling and performance is dialogue itself. So sometimes the performance isn't just something that sparks conversation, it is a conversation. And I want to reference two experiences that I had in my institution that I also just alluded to in my poem. So after completing my degree in 2021, I approached the UFS Arts and Culture Office and I proposed a Broken Sarafina, an ongoing discourse, which is a devised theatre piece exploring protest culture within institutions of higher education and learning. We created it with students from various faculties, many of whom had never set foot on stage, so it was a very interesting experience for me as well. And the play gave voice to both students and institutional perspectives. And what's lovely about theatre is that that fourth wall offered a safe space for us to be able to discuss hard truths safely, without fear or judgment. So it wasn't just a performance, it was a dialogue. And directly after the show, we then had a reflection session that was held with prompts also on solutions based on the conversation that was created by the production itself. So unfortunately, management didn't attend, but those that did attend saw how powerful theatre can be in sparking honest, dignified conversation. Storytelling has great power when it comes to inciting discourse without anyone losing their dignity. And I value this question because I believe that sometimes storytelling as dialogue is often misunderstood or devalued. People often expect panels, speeches, or formal talks, which all have value, but theatre is often overlooked as a living conversation. And another project that I want to quickly reference, which I'm very proud of, Varsity Life, which was created for first-year students with the Arts and Culture Office as well, with the intention to showcase it to them within the first few months of them being at the UFS. So I co-wrote this with Ms. Jane Mpolo, and then I headed the direction. It was performed by current students and also alumni. So we were asked to address 6 topics, which were GBV, mental health, sexuality, sexual health, safety, and culture, financial aid as well, through scenes that were rooted in real life or real student stories. And one moment that particularly stood out for me was a scene where a character by the name of Uzama called Kosi Health for help after a traumatic event at a house party, blending story and practical information. So we also incentivized the attendance of the F10s, encouraging them to retain important facts on the support services that were spoken about in the show. So we literally asked them, because we didn't bet it into the show, where can you find the number for protection services? If maybe we're speaking about safety, you can find it at the back of your student card. What is the number? 051-401-2911. You can fact check me on that one. So the students also remembered the scenes and the support services. And just as a final note, I believe that if universities really want to center student voices and spark institutional change, perhaps investing in storytelling could be a powerful and alternative tool to achieve this. It's not just about creating a play for everything, and I understand that it's not practical, and also it comes with cost implications, but that's also possible because the ROI is completely worth it. It creates job opportunities, mentorships, and in this case, for Varsity Life, it capacitates our students and empowers them on what is available to them, because at the end of the day, it's about pouring into their success, and that means being open to different, creative, and even unconventional ways of reaching students. Thank you.
Thank you. Zoe, how has your upbringing shaped the way you lead, connect with students, and contribute to student success through the Siyaphumelela initiative at your university?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the platform to share. So I'll answer the question in 3 phases. I'll first talk about how, or share with you some of my experiences from my upbringing and how these experiences then have shaped the values that lead me as a leader. And then I will talk about how, as a first-year transitioning officer, I use these values. So growing up, I never really had the privilege of stability. My life was split between 2 homes and moving between provinces and cities. It was new faces, new places, new customs, new systems. And like I mentioned in my poem, I was constantly the new girl. I was the one who had to quickly adapt. I had to figure things out alone. I had to, oh goodness, sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Yes, I had to, sorry. That's okay. 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 I had to prove myself over and over and over again. It was emotionally exhausting. It was lonely, and it was often isolating. But what it taught me was invaluable. It taught me how to read a room, how to listen with depth, and how to lead with empathy. Moving between two homes, where in the one household, poverty was ever present and where I could feel the weight of lack, compared to the other household where lack wasn't an issue. And though I didn't know it then, it gave me perspective. And my diversity has brought me, it has taught me that I can relate to many different student experiences. Sorry, let me get my notes. I am now, as a first-year transitioning officer, the person I wished I needed when I first started university. My background has taught me to appreciate diversity, not to just see it, but to value it. Yes. It helped me to understand that to really support a student, you have to understand them holistically. It's not about performance or attendance. It's about where they come from, the type of household they came from. It's about their culture, their language, their story. And that is why I try so hard to create spaces that create a sense of community for our first years at UWC. It's about leading from the margins. It's about, sorry, oh my goodness, why am I like this? It's about creating spaces for students, for all students from different backgrounds, not just about giving them a sense of belonging, but making them feel that they matter. Thank you.
I would like to direct the next question to 2025 scholars. As student leaders and possibly agents of change, and having engaged with the Siyaphumelela Scholar program and conference, how do you now intend to champion student success and Siyaphumelela at your own institution?
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful question. So the Siyaphumelela program and the conference has taught me that student success is not just an idea. It's something that we can actively shape. At my institution, I plan to engage with departments to encourage them to reimagine student success and to implement some of the impactful interventions that have been shared here. I'll also advocate for a stronger bottom-up approach, where students help to design the interventions meant for them. Most importantly, I'll share the knowledge that I've gained to empower more students to become active leaders and advocates of change, because student success must also be driven by students themselves. Thank you.
My experience with Siyaphumelela Scholar Program and the conference reminded me of how powerful it is when student success is approached holistically. At Peninsula University of Technology, I plan to drive conversations that put students at the center, not just academically, but emotionally, socially. I will advocate for inclusive spaces where students from all walks of life feel represented and supported. For me, this means working across departments, sharing lived experiences, and using data to push for change that truly meets student needs, not just assumptions. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. At Wits University, I'm fortunate enough to be part of the graduate recruitment program. So taking what I've learned from Siyaphumelela, the journey and the conference, first thing would be the power of storytelling. Sometimes you don't need a therapy room, sometimes you need a poem. And I think that telling your story to people who have been through similar or even worse challenges is a very relieving journey for students. I think that maybe I could advocate for storytelling spaces for students to be heard. And with the graduate recruitment program, I have access to a huge number of students. So I think maybe using co-creation, as we learned in one of the sessions, I could include students to know how would you want to be assisted instead of me deciding to assist them in my way. How do students want to be helped? And lastly, I'd advocate for the use of student data. I've realized that institutions have this at their disposal, and it is there. So I'd advocate for Wits department in my capacity to please use it. Thank you.
Thank you for that for the question. In terms of experience, I think what the Siyaphumelela has taught me is the fact that it is all possible. We just need the cognitive aspect, which is the will to do whatever. And I think if you take away the competing component of universities and institutions, I think it was also mentioned that we tend to compete. But I believe if you see something beautiful and it works for someone else, even though you've got a different set of students, perhaps, if you implement it or try it at your institution, it might actually work. And it shouldn't be a situation of I did it first or whatsoever, but it should be a situation of student success was obtained, and that is what the goal was. And then with what I am to do after this, I think, I was having a talk yesterday, I think I'm done with student leadership now. I want to do student success now. So, yes. So, as I said, I've served in a number of capacities with students, with student leaders, with residences and whatsoever. And I think this is one component that we really didn't give too much airtime, and it really deserved it. And I think after this, we are going to be starting a very brilliant program at the university across all 3 campuses, the Student Success Ambassadors with our beautiful Rasi at the back there. Thank you for this one. And we are really going to be looking at all the faculties, and I think what we are going to, because some of my colleagues are also here, it is now time for us to go from what we've learned here to go try and implement it, and also go speak to those who are not here and see how we can bring it home to the Northwest University. Thank you very much.
How I will be championing student success is by having kindness at the forefront of everything I do, in my approach, in my attitude, in my perspective. It's about offering more than just direction to a lecture room. It's about offering presence, encouragement, and care. Thank you.
Thank you. And to our 2024 scholars, what advice do you have for these 2025 scholars sitting next to you? If we can start with Sibahle.
Okay. I have one, thank you so much. 5 things. Mablesana, Tamzu. B, Mbali Zondo. 1, your story matters. It carried you this far. It will carry you even further. 2, if you were still seeking affirmation about whether you're on the right path, I'm going to cry, goodness. See this as evidence of the fact that you guys are in the right place. 3, use it as a launching pad. I want to quote you, Bulela, where you said, go deeper, go further, go anyway. Don't, years down the line, reflect on Siyaphumelela as the days when you once were a student leader, when you once were in those spaces. Use it to launch yourself further. 4, the experience, unfortunately or fortunately, is no longer yours. You've had it, we celebrate you, it's amazing. But now you need to go back. You need to go back and share it with others and allow them to dream as well, so that they can also see themselves where you were and stand as tall as you stood this week. And 5, sorry, in the spirit of just being a theater nerd, I want to quote a line from the hit Broadway musical Hamilton, So this is where George Washington is now stepping down, and Alexander Hamilton is given a position as commander in the Continental Army. And George Washington says to him, and I want to echo those words to you, and I think to all of us here, history has its eyes on you. No pressure. No pressure. Thank you so much.
From my side, I just want to actually start by saying that you are such a talented conglomerate of individuals, and that the sentiment was actually echoed throughout the conference that if you go alone, you go fast, but if you go together, you go far. So I want to actually implore you guys to harness what you have amongst yourselves and actually see what magic can actually come from that. Secondly to that, I want to also say that remember why you started this journey, right? Remember why you started to help students succeed. It is very easy to actually get caught up in the administrative part of it, but we need to understand that data must inform us of how we can actually better student success. Lastly, I would like to have you guys remember that you are the dream. You are the dream. And you are the vehicles that are going to be helping other students also achieve their own dreams in their own respects. And always remember the why you started. Thank you.
Doesn't that sound great from our students? I think it's more than just the student voice. I see in this group fine leadership emerging in our institutions. And my wish is that if the ideas, the values that they surfaced here could also be taken to the rest of the students in our institutions, I think that could bring about a change in the institutions. And that's my plea to all of you. Influence the rest of the students in your institutions in terms of what student success means, but also in terms of what students' agency contributes towards student success. I greatly thank you for all the ideas that you've raised in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have certificates for all of our scholars, and as we've heard, they are the dream, so let's make sure they won't lose the dream. Okay. Thank you. If you can come individually. Zoe. There we go. And just remain standing. Mbali. Blessing. Musa. Bulela. Sibahle. There we go. And Bradley. Let's give them a very warm round of applause. Congratulations. Great, thank you very much. You can take a seat back down. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We've reached the end of the session. We'll be back here at 11 o'clock for our closing plenary. Please don't run off. Our institutional leads we have for you in the desk in the corner to please collect your finish line game as well as your Georgia State University Harvard Business School case study. And we also have books for each of your institutions to go into your library. So you're all able to read the book that has been spoken about so much during this conference. So it's tea time now, everybody. Please, let's reconvene at 11. Thank you so much, and thank you very much to all of our speakers and our scholars.